This should be a fairly short video. Here I have an HP Spectre. This is a 4K 2-in-1. It has an NVIDIA GPU inside it, and that's the only reason why I have it. I got it for $5 from my freegeek. I've had it for, I want to say a couple months now. And I finally got around to get a proper battery charge or a proper charger for it and a battery for it. So what I want to do is I want to do before and after. Because when it comes to powering this thing up, I've been using my Apple USB-C laptop charger. It does power it up and whatnot, and it does run, but it suffers performance issues. It's really noticeable when gaming because it just struggles. Even though it has a somewhat oldish NVIDIA GPU, it should handle what I throw at it completely fine, but it just doesn't. And from what I've been able to notice is that it's due to the CPU clocking down to like 300 megahertz. And I've had an issue like this in the past with this little HP whatever Ryzen 3 powered laptop I got from my local Walmart a couple years ago. This thing had severe performance issues, and eventually a BIOS update came out that actually resolved it. It took them over a fucking year to resolve the power issues with this thing, but when that BIOS was updated, I was actually able to game on this thing relatively consistently. So that's why I am thinking it is a power related issue. And of course that's because I'm using this guy right here, and this guy really isn't designed to power a HP laptop. Granted, I do have a proper power brick coming in, hence also I'm doing this video, of course the battery coming in also. And I just want to see if I actually, like I said, gain actual any performance and whatnot. Theoretically, that should be the case. So with that said, let me get this thing plugged in and fire up the computer and show you exactly what it's doing. Alright, so I think I mentioned it earlier in the video, but I don't remember, it's been a little while, that the issue more or less corresponds to the core clock of the CPU whenever I'm gaming and whatnot. As you can see, idling right now, its clock is completely fine. So I'm going to load up Sims 4 here, and we're going to see what the core clock is like with it loaded in. I think it's running at 1080p medium. So GPU wise, I should actually be running at a higher setting, but again, since I'm having issues right now, I really can't do anything about it. With that also said, I went into NVIDIA control panel, and I told the computer to actually use the NVIDIA GPU to run Sims 4. Sometimes these laptops, you gotta manually tell it to use the dedicated GPU because sometimes it doesn't know how to properly switch. So I'm gonna get Sims 4 set up and come back. Alright, so since we're loading up, currently right now the clock is completely fine. That'll change when I actually try to load into the actual game itself, like physically load in my save and whatnot. Oh, nope, it's happening right now. It went down to 400 megahertz. Now that could be normal for how Sims works, but I'm fairly certain that is not the case. So, yeah, I'm just gonna... It's gonna take a while, apparently. Yeah, this is definitely not normal. It's jumping between 3,000 and 400. And, of course, that's because the power supply I'm using is not adequate. It's also probably because it needs a battery installed. And, again, those are supposed to be coming in today, so I'll be able to actually, with just loading into Sims, be enough to see if that actually resolves the issue and whatnot. But, yeah, I'll come back in like 5 minutes. It will honestly take like 5 minutes to do this because, well, 400 megahertz, we're back in like, what, 90-95? I want to see how long it actually takes to load into my save. So one thing to note right out of the gate is that it's now stuck. Well, was stuck at 400, but now, well, yeah. Took shy of 5 minutes. With that said, as you can see, the core clock is at 300 megahertz or 400 megahertz, and of course, frame rate wise, it's a choppy, stuttery mess from time to time. And that little bit of movement that you saw that was nice and smooth was when the CPU went back to 2000 megahertz. So obviously, that is some type of power draw issue. So with that said, I'm going to wait for my components to come in and we will finish this video up. Well, here is my third-party battery. It fits, but with that said, there's actually a missing component, the BIOS battery. I actually just noticed this little plug right here and I recognize it as a BIOS battery. I just didn't know where it's supposed to go. It's actually supposed to go right there. And I watched this video right here to confirm that the BIOS battery is supposed to be put there. So eventually I'll need to get a BIOS battery for this thing. But I'm gonna only deal with that after I make sure the battery and the charger I got actually works with this thing and I actually am able to play Sims on this thing. Theoretically, I should be able to, but I need to put everything back together first and see if that's the case. So I'll come back in a bit. Well, the manual for the battery is definitely in broken English, but I think I understand what they're asking me to do. They're asking me to fully run the thing down to at least 3% before I recharge it. So let's just see if the thing even turns on. It should. Do I have a power light? No, I do not. Maybe I have to plug it in first to get the thing to kick, so I'm gonna go and do that. Alright, just like I thought, I had to plug it into wall power to get it to fire up since there's no proper BIOS. So I need to actually go into the BIOS of this thing and make sure everything's properly set, because now I have a way to at least maintain power and whatnot. So I'm gonna go into the BIOS and deal with that. Wow, this is a little annoying. It says there's no battery in the computer, even though there's a battery in the computer. Maybe I just gotta disconnect it and reconnect it again. Alright, so the battery doesn't seem to want to work, but it seems like the power supply is in fact working. The core clock is maintaining itself compared to with the Apple charger. So we're already off to a good start. So with that also said, let me get something set up so I can do some timing. Alright, got a timer up. And I'm loading into my save. And so far, core clock is maintaining itself. So at the very least, if everything works as planned, I'll have a proper power supply so I could actually use this thing at least wall powered. I'll have to figure out something for the battery, more likely just a replacement or a return and whatnot. But we'll see how long it takes to load into Sims 4 and see if I actually have a performance difference. Just under a minute. And now when I zoom in and out, if I can get... Oh yeah, it's definitely far more smoother now. It still lags and whatnot, but compared to the struggle fest that was earlier, it is now running completely fine. Which does go to show that all I needed to do with this computer was just get a proper power supply, and I can at least use it with a wall powered. With that also said, I will remove the film and whatnot from the power supply, but for right now, I'm just testing the computer to make sure it works, and so far, it's working completely fine. So, with that said, now I need to sort the battery issue. One thing I do want to mention though is that when I had this battery plugged in, and it would make buzzing noises from like the speaker right here, but it wouldn't show anything in Windows. And when I actually went to unplug it, the computer turned off. So the computer acknowledges the battery, but for some reason or another, Windows itself doesn't actually want to partake in the battery. So I may just need to do a refund to get a replacement or have them ship me a new one or something, I don't know. Alright, apparently I need to flip the connector if these comments are be believed. That I originally had it flipped like this, but I actually need to flip it like this to actually get the battery to work properly. Apparently the way this motherboard is designed, the connector can be inserted either way and it'll work, but the gold connectors need to be this way for it to properly power on the laptop and be detected. So I'm going to shut it down and see if that's the case. Well, no mystery smoke. We're off to a good start, so let's see if it powers on. Oh, would you look at that? It powers on now. I think we're good to go. Kind of stupid that the connector can be flipped like that, but hey, at least I read the comments before it's going for like a return and whatnot. So let's see. Yep, we got a cable or we got a screen. Yep, we are good to go. Hot stink. I fixed my computer for 30 bucks. Oh, not 40. I spent grand total of about $65 to $70 in this computer now. $5 for the computer itself and then 35 or so for 30 or so dollars for both that and the battery. So with that said, fuck off Windows 11, I ain't using you. Alright, a little bit of time has passed. The battery is now dead. I'm currently recharging it. One other thing I am monitoring is the heat output of this power supply. It is getting warm, but it's not getting crazy hot. Since this is a third-party knockoff charger, especially one that looks like a Dell one, I am monitoring this thing because these little knockoff chargers sometimes are just not built to spec, and you just never know. And I just want to make sure that this charger doesn't decide to set itself on fire. When it comes to the battery, I am more or less monitoring that also. So I'm just going to let this charge and come back when it's fully charged. And luckily, I'll be able to know that when I see a white light on the charge indicator. One thing I do wish is that this little light right here on the charging cable and whatnot would actually turn on when it's plugged into the laptop and not when it's just getting power. It is kind of nice that it does at least turn on and let me know that the charger is getting power. But the way this light is actually supposed to work is this light is supposed to light up when it's actually connected to the computer. But again, this is a third-party knockoff charger, and at the very least, it does charge up the laptop and it does provide enough power to actually get the laptop to function properly. So, like I said, I'll come back when the thing's fully charged and we'll finish up this video. Alright, got Windows 11 installed. I decided to just give it a shot because, well, why not? With that said, it's been working completely fine. It does exactly what I asked it to do. I'll probably end up swapping back over to Windows 10, but we'll just have to see. And when it comes to overall performance, like I said, I can't be more than happier with this little computer. I spent about a total of maybe around 85 bucks on this thing, maybe 90 give or take. And for the price, I'm happy with the outcome. I have myself a fairly nice HP Spectre that fully works. So I think that's pretty much it for the video.